Sometimes one text message can detonate your entire existence, and mine happened to be sent at 3:15 a.m. from a hotel bathroom in Miami, while mascara streaked down my cheeks and regret pooled in my stomach like cheap tequila. I'm Piper. I'm 30, and 2 weeks ago, I was supposed to marry the most methodical man alive. Caleb had our wedding planned down to the napkin fold, angles, and backup seating charts, in case Great Aunt Ruth decided to start drama with Cousin Miranda again. While he color-coded spreadsheets at home, I was living it up on my bachelorette weekend because, let's be real, I deserved one last taste of freedom before committing to a lifetime of his obsessive organization. The whole Miami trip was Becca's idea, my best friend since college who always knew how to show me a good time. We hit South Beach with the girls, and that's where everything went sideways. This guy, Chad, started talking to us at the pool bar, and he was magnetic in ways that Caleb just wasn't. Where Caleb analyzed every conversation to death, Chad was spontaneous. Where Caleb planned our date nights 3 weeks in advance, Chad suggested we all head back to our suite for drinks without a second thought. I should mention something about Caleb that people don't understand. He used to be wild. Like really wild. Parties every weekend, different girls, constantly, the whole player lifestyle. Then he met me and completely flipped the script, became this reformed guy who triple-checked everything and treated our relationship like a project to be managed. Sometimes I wondered if he was overcompensating for his past by being so ridiculously controlled about everything. But Chad reminded me what spontaneity felt like. When he kissed me on the balcony while the others were inside playing some drinking game, my body just responded. We ended up in the guest bedroom, and look, I'm not proud of it, but it happened. It was physical meaningless, just this moment where I felt alive instead of managed. Afterwards, sitting in that bathroom at 3 a.m, with Becca rubbing my back while I ugly cried, I knew I had to tell Caleb something. The guilt was crushing me, but I also knew we could work through this. We had 4 years together. A wedding in 14 days, both our families flying in. One stupid mistake couldn't erase all of that. So I sent him the most careful text I could manage. Hey, are you awake? I messed up bad. Please don't be mad. I'm so drunk. And Becca let this guy hang with us, and I accidentally slept with someone. It meant nothing. I promise it was a stupid accident. I love you. This doesn't change anything. Please tell me we're okay. His response came back almost immediately. Accidents happen. 2 words, that's it. I stared at my phone, waiting for more. Anger, questions, demands for details, nothing. The silence felt more ominous than screaming would have. I tried calling him 3 times, but it went straight to voicemail each time. Becca kept reassuring me that he was just processing, that men need time to think through big emotions. He'll come around, she said, but something felt wrong. This wasn't like Caleb at all. The man who had 17 different contingency plans for rain on our wedding day wasn't the type to just be shut down. The rest of the weekend passed in a blur. I barely participated in any of the planned activities, constantly checking my phone for some sign that the man I was supposed to marry in 2 weeks was even thinking about me. When we landed back home Sunday evening, I was desperate to see him face to face to explain what had really happened. But when I got to our apartment building, my key wouldn't work. I tried it 3 times before buzzing the intercom, and Caleb's voice came through cold as winter. Check your email, Piper. Check the guest list's email too. I've accidentally canceled our wedding. Also, I've accidentally changed the locks. Don't come home. We're done. The line went dead. I started pounding on the door, screaming for him to let me explain, but he'd already disconnected. Becca was with me immediately, launching into a tirade about what a psycho he was being, but I was too shocked to speak. I pulled up my email with shaking hands, and there it was. A message sent to our entire wedding guest list of 214 people. The subject line read, "Urgent wedding cancellation." And the content was devastating. "Dear friends and family, it is with deep regret that I must inform you of the cancellation of our upcoming wedding. The reason for this sudden change is that I was informed this morning that my fiancé accidentally slept with another man during her bachelorette party. As she so delicately put it, it meant nothing. Unfortunately, this accident means everything to me. The email continued detailing the financial losses, apologizing for travel inconveniences, and directing all future communications to me since I was currently indisposed. He'd told everyone. My boss's grandmother, our college friends, my conservative great-aunt who already thought I was too wild for him. My phone exploded with notifications. Text after text from family members, friends, coworkers. Some were supportive, asking if I was okay, but others were clearly picking sides. His family was livid with me, while mine was confused and mortified. My mother called sobbing, asking how I could do this to such a good man. The calculated nature of his response was what really got to me. This wasn't some emotional outburst. He'd been planning this nuclear option while I was flying home, thinking we could work things out. He'd spent hours crafting that email, thinking through every word, every consequence. The next few days were a nightmare of logistics and humiliation. I had to find somewhere to stay since he'd changed the locks on what was technically his apartment. My parents were furious, not just about what I'd done, but about how publicly it had been exposed. My father, Gideon, was particularly heated about the money they'd contributed to the wedding. $15,000 flushed away because you couldn't control yourself for one weekend, he said, and those words stung worse than anything Caleb had written. When we finally arranged a time for me to collect my belongings, Caleb had his sister Maya and her husband Ben there as witnesses. He wouldn't even look at me directly, just stood in the doorway like a security guard, while I packed 4 years of my life into boxes. The worst part was the espresso machine, the $4,500 one we'd bought together for our future morning routines. I paid $4,000, you contributed $500, he said flatly. It stays? I wanted to scream that it was supposed to be ours, that we'd picked it out together during one of our rare spontaneous shopping trips. But Maya was recording everything on her phone, and I knew any outburst would just give them more ammunition. My mother actually called the police claiming he was stealing from me, but the officers completely sided with him. They looked at me like I was the problem, like I was some kind of home wrecker for cheating and then having the audacity to demand my share of joint purchases. But the real war started when my parents decided to fight back legally. They hired a lawyer and demanded not just their $15,000 back, but an additional $50,000 to $1,000 for defamation and emotional distress. He had no right to broadcast your private business to the entire world, my mother kept saying. This is character assassination. I wasn't sure about the lawsuit at first, but I was drowning in shame and anger, and the idea of making Caleb pay for destroying my reputation was appealing. We thought we had him cornered. After all, he'd publicly humiliated me over what was essentially a private relationship issue. Caleb's response to our lawsuit was swift and brutal. His lawyer sent a letter that made my hands shake as I read it. Not only did they have my original confession text as ironclad evidence, but they were countersuing for the full $30,000 he'd lost in deposits plus $75,000 in damages for harassment and the malicious slander my family had apparently spread. Here's where things got really ugly. My mother had called his parents claiming I was having a breakdown, that he was the real cheater and that I was being framed. She'd tried to convince them that I was mentally unstable and that Caleb had fabricated the whole thing to cover his own affair. I had no idea she'd done this, but the damage was catastrophic. His lawyer had phone records, witness statements, and a timeline that made our family look like manipulative liars trying to gaslight his parents. The letter gave us 48 hours to withdraw our lawsuit and provide a written apology, or they'd proceed with a countersuit that could financially destroy us. My father went pale when he read it. They have everything, he whispered. The text, the timeline, proof of your mother's calls. We can't win this. The worst part was realizing that while I'd been focused on my hurt feelings and damaged reputation, Caleb had been methodically building a case. He'd documented every interaction, saved every message, and anticipated every move we might make. It was like playing chess with someone who was already 10 moves ahead. When I called him from a new number, sobbing and begging him to make it stop, there was a coldness in his voice I'd never heard before. You're going to bankrupt my family, I cried. My parents could lose everything. Please, it was just one mistake. You should have thought about that before your family tried to make me look crazy, he said. This is what happens when you underestimate someone. We withdrew the lawsuit on hour 47, sending a pathetic apology letter that barely qualified as an admission of wrongdoing. The legal fees alone had cost us thousands, and the threat of the countersuit had terrified my parents into complete submission. But the real consequences were just beginning. The story of our canceled wedding had spread beyond our immediate circle. Someone had screenshot Caleb's original email and posted it on social media, where it went viral as an example of savage justice. I became an internet cautionary tale, the woman who threw away a good man for a meaningless hookup. My professional reputation crumbled. Clients didn't want to work with someone who'd been publicly exposed as untrustworthy. I had to move back in with my parents at 30 years old, sleeping in my childhood bedroom while trying to rebuild my life from scratch. The hardest part was watching Caleb thrive. Through mutual friends, I heard he'd gotten a big opportunity at work, bought a house, and was dating someone new, a nurse who seemed to adore his methodical nature. She was stable, loyal content with quiet evenings and planned vacations. In photos, they looked genuinely happy in a way that made my chest tight. Meanwhile, my relationship with Becca imploded. She blamed me for not handling the situation better, for letting it escalate into a legal nightmare that had consumed months of our lives. "You should have just apologized and moved on," she said during our final fight. "Instead, you had to make it everyone else's fault." But she was wrong. I didn't make it everyone else's fault. I made one mistake, one stupid drunken decision, and everyone acted like I'd committed murder. Caleb could have handled it. Privately, could have worked with me to rebuild trust, could have shown some compassion for the woman he claimed to love. Instead, he chose to destroy not just our relationship, but my entire existence. 18 months later, I'm still picking up the pieces. I'm in therapy, trying to understand how one night could unravel everything I'd built. My therapist keeps pushing me to take responsibility, to acknowledge my role in the destruction. Fine. Yeah, I cheated. But did I deserve to have my life completely obliterated? Did I deserve to lose my career, my friends, my reputation, all for one meaningless encounter that I immediately regretted? The punishment never fit the crime. And deep down, I think Caleb's response revealed more about his vindictive character than mine ever did. A truly good man would have found a way to forgive, or at least handled it with some dignity. Instead, he showed everyone exactly who he really was underneath all that reformed player facade, someone capable of calculated cruelty when crossed. I'm rebuilding now slowly. New city, new job, new life. But sometimes I still wake up thinking about that espresso machine, about the morning routines we'll never share, about how one drunk text message can detonate everything you thought was solid. The truth is, I'm not sorry for wanting excitement. I'm only sorry I got caught.